Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Together we're going to win this war, and the sooner we do, the sooner we can begin to rebuild, rebound, and return to normal lives. We went from the best economy that this country has ever seen, the best employment numbers we've ever had, 160 million people working, almost 160 million, to a point where the professionals came to me and they say, sir, you're going to have to shut the country down. I said, what does that mean? They said, sir, you're going to have to shut it down. And we're going to build it up, and I think we're going to build it up fast. I think we're going to have a tremendous rebound.
Is that true? Yes, it is true. Is it going to happen as fast as some people think? Probably not. But will it come back? Of course it will. New numbers out today. Scary.
More than 6 million Americans filed new claims for unemployment benefits last week. It is by far the highest total in a single week and twice as many as the week before. The staggering figure comes as nearly every state has imposed some kind of stay-at-home order. The newly laid off have overwhelmed state unemployment offices, websites have crashed, and phone lines have been busy.
Think about this for a second. The 6.6 million are just the people that were able to file, right? The 6.6, because there are plenty of people out there who couldn't get through. There are plenty of people out there over the coming days that are going to find out they're furloughed or have their jobs essentially eliminated altogether because there may not be an employer for them. Yeah, it's awful. Is it the new normal? It is not. I'm going to tell you that right now. It is not the new normal. It is not. We will get out of this. It's just when. That's the biggest question. We're going to talk later on today to Dr. Jennifer Ashton. You see her on Good Morning America. She's the chief medical correspondent at ABC, and her and I have been chatting back and forth. But we're going to come out of this. And I think we have to realize that while it is frustrating, and it is absolutely frustrating, that we are all in this together and that we're going to come out the other side. Now, when is the other side? That's the thing. I think if people knew when the other side was, or when we could start thinking about the other side. But in this time, as Dr. Fauci has pointed out, the virus is doing what the virus does. And it will tell us when things can start to go back to some normal way of life. Is it tomorrow? No. Is it a month from now? Probably not. Is it 2 months from now? For some, yes. For maybe others, no. But will it happen? It will. Then the question has to be after that, where do we go after this? Where do we go after this if it returns and we don't have what we need as far as a solid treatment plan or two? Where do we go after this if we have no treatment plan and it reappears in, say, September, October, November again? That's a fair question to ask, because I will tell you this. I think America gets one of these. And then I think we say to ourselves, well, we can't do this again. We can't shut down every 9 months. That's just not something that we can do. Because eventually, as Trump has said, and I think a lot of other people, even people who can't stand Trump, have said that this thing becoming a true depression could kill as many, if not more, than what this might do. And it sounds weird to say something like that, and it's uncomfortable to say, so you're putting money. No, we're not putting money. We're putting live and livelihoods into a position where they can earn money to sustain a life. And it's unfortunate that we have to make that choice, because we'd all like to say we found the magical, snapped our fingers and somebody came up with something. And I'm very hopeful that they're going to come up with a treatment sooner rather than later. But the reality is, at this point in time, I think we get one of these, because I think Americans are going to start to make a choice. And I don't know if it's at the end of this month. It may be the end of May, where they say, we've given you 75 days. We can't give you any more. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. You can text the program as well. Trump, again, his tone is changing. I think people realize that. They see that. He comes out, he does his stuff. And it's very interesting to watch the way that his tone has changed. And some people are chiming in on that. Because remember, originally it was the flu. It was this, that, and the other. And China's got a lot to answer for. It's not just us. Our intelligence officers and people have come out and said, hey, you know what? While Trump has maybe mishandled some of this, the world wasn't given the real lowdown on this, and everybody's following what the World Health Organization. You need to follow what the WHO says, the World Health Organization. So people follow the World Health Organization, and they're praising China, and everybody else is in the intelligence world saying China's lying, and they've been lying, and they continue to lie. And those numbers they're giving you are a bunch of crap. And how infectious this was a bunch of crap. And how deadly it could be was a bunch of crap. All of it was awful. They weren't giving everybody. They were giving everybody enough to sustain them, as far as we'll give them bits of truth and then we'll hide the rest. That is not good. That is not good at all. And Trump's tone is absolutely changed. And you can hear it.
Yesterday, you were talking about a friend you had who was in a coma. Sorry to hear your friend's going through that. But you said this is no flu. And over the past month, you've compared it to the flu, saying treat it like the flu. Or what changed your thinking on that, or your language on that?
I think the severity. I think also in looking at the way the contagion, it is so contagious. Nobody's ever seen anything like this, where large groups of people, all of a sudden, just by being in the presence of somebody, have it. Flu has never been like that. Also, the violence of it. If it hits the right person, that person's in deep trouble. And my friend was the right person.
Yeah. And that's still a weird situation where some people that you would think, no problem. What they're saying with the young is young people are getting it and their body starts to fight itself. It overproduces the antibodies, the white blood cells. They start fighting themselves, which causes a problem. And what they're looking at for a younger treatment for people who have really good immune system is different than what they're looking at with other things. That's why they think they may have to have two. People have an overactive immune system. They're thinking, okay, how can we tamp down that immune system so it doesn't battle itself and its body turn on itself and eventually kill that person? And for others, it's how can we ramp up their immune system? The hydrochloroquine, the first results are coming out, and they look pretty good. They gave two sets of groups of people, so 31 in each with pneumonia. The people with the placebo, 17 out of the 31 got better. 25 out of the 31 who got hydrochloroquine got better, and they got better quicker. So does that point to something? It might. They'll have to do more, but at this point in time, I think everybody's saying, you know what, we're going to have to, it's all hands on deck, and we're going to have to throw everything at this as fast as possible. Throw everything at this. And that's not the way we like to do things, obviously, but it's what we're doing. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Hope you're doing well. I watched something weird last night. Kara, do you ever watch country music? Do you like anything about country music?
I like a little bit. Did you watch the Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood thing last night?
It was, yes. And it was kind of weird because they did this mini concert where they sat next to each other inside like a sound booth. And it was pretty interesting. And of course, they sound great. But then they would go to like their producers and the people, and they had masks on, and that was to me was just so bizarre. I was like, that's weird. So they had the surgical mask, and they had rubber gloves on, and they were reading what people were, as they were live streaming this, what they were saying, and people were playing requests. Because I guess normally once a week or something, they'll do like a live stream thing, and then people request songs, and it's kind of interesting. And they did it last night, and I watched a little bit, and I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. And then when they went to them, and you see these people that would normally handle all this, like the producers, they're far apart, and they've got masks on and rubber gloves, and it was a surreal situation. I wonder what we're going to look back on in, say, 20, 30, 40 years and go, wow, that was weird. That was an awkward time. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Wounded Paw Project. So, You see, I talked to a nurse yesterday, and she says her friends are freaking out about this stuff and what's going on. And you realize that they are first responders, right? They're in the front line. And that's where an organization like Wounded Paw comes in. What Wounded Paw does is they go and rescue dogs that would otherwise be euthanized. And they take them from shelter dogs and they turn them into service dogs for veterans and first responders and their families. And it is amazing the work that they're doing. It really is. And as anybody knows, you see an animal, it can just brighten up your day, and it's incredible. And it helps the veterans, first responders, and their family. They need your help right now. They're getting inundated with requests, and they're trying to go as fast as possible. If you have any extra cash, or better yet, if you have an extra car, truck, RV, even a boat, you can turn it into a vehicle for change. You're going to be saving a paw to save a life. That is their motto. Great tax-deductible gift. Find out how you can get involved by going to woundedpawproject.org. That's woundedpawproject.org, or call 844-678-4PAW, 844-678-4729, or woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
Experiencing separation anxiety? That's dumb. Check out Chad 24/7 at his website, ChadBensonShow.com, and on iTunes, free. The Chad Benson Show. Never feel lonely again.
Stay the at home. The Rona is spreading. This is no joke. It's no time to work or roam. The way you can fight it is simple, my friends. Just stay the at home. Now, technically, I'm not a doctor, but mother listen when I read a poem. So here I am, Sam Jackson, imploring you, keep your ass at home. If you want things to get back to normal, don't panic. Just use your dome. Wash your hands, stop touching your face, and stay the at home.
So funny. That's one of the few that I've watched, and I'm like, okay, that made me laugh. That made me laugh. Samuel L. Jackson reading Stay the Blank at Home, which is what you should do. So Bill Gates, who, there's a TED Talk out, I think from 2016 or 2017, talking about a pandemic. And he thinks the way that we should approach this is literally staying at home for 10 weeks. No travel anywhere. You stay at home for 10 weeks. 10 weeks. That's a long time. Shut down everything. Allow states to enact their own social distancing mandates is, he says, a recipe for disaster because people can travel across state lines. He says 10 weeks or more. Now, the reality is most people aren't going to be able to survive for 10 weeks without a paycheck. Most companies, even large ones, aren't going to be able to survive like that. They're just not. I understand what he's saying, but that's a long time. Testing. This is something that should be of the utmost importance, but doesn't seem to be in some states, is the testing and who gets testing. Who gets tested? Well, we should have an easier way for all of us to get tested because it's the people that are asymptomatics that'll be the spreaders. The 80% of us out there who are or will have it but never really know they had it. Sniffles, no fever, right? No cough, right? Just easy stuff. Little things. Small things like you could pass it off as it's allergies. Maybe I had a head cold. I didn't have any of the other things that everybody else has. Didn't have a fever. Didn't have aches and pains. Didn't have a cough. Couldn't be that. It's allergy season, spring, things are blooming, weather's outside nice. It's got to be that. Those are the ones who will spread it because they're going to be out and about doing stuff. And then a vaccine. Now, he talks about a vaccine, and I say to myself, we can't go 18 months waiting to get this. It's just not possible. There is no chance in hell that we as a nation are going to hibernate for 18 months and then come out the other side and get back to any normal way of life. Treatment first. And the vaccine, and producer Anthony and I were talking about this before the show, that is real, which is, how do we know it's going to work? Even if we have a vaccine, we have a flu shot, that doesn't guarantee you're not going to get the flu. So what happens if this thing morphs, right? We have a different strain. There's no guarantee. One thing they are saying about this compared to the flu is once you get it, you're pretty much immune for it. Now, is it your lifetime? No, but they think maybe. But they also say it could be several years or longer before you have to worry about getting it again. And that's something that is good. And then, of course, we have the other side of it, which is the umpteen billions that will come in contact with this, but for whatever reason, they have antibodies that have built up in such a way that they are not going to get it. So there's a lot that goes into it. But the testing, I agree with. The staying in, if you're going to, that's a tough thing right there. 10 weeks is a long time, maybe more. Again, long time to shut down a country. At the end of the day, though, do we try it? Say we're going to do this for 45 days. Everybody's staying inside. You guys can go for a walk, one-on-one, and we go for it for real. But then say, look, after X amount of days, we're going to have to get back to work. And if we have to quarantine and isolate older and immune impressed people, then we do. And everybody under the age of 55, you got to get back to work. Maybe that's the path that we might take. But 10 weeks seems, that could be a hell of a 10 weeks. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Hope you're doing well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Do you have a message for the other governors who have not taken these strong measures? Should everyone be issuing these stay-at-home orders?
Our message is this: what are you waiting for? What more evidence do you need? If you think it's not going to happen to you, there are many proof points all across this country, for that matter, around the rest of the world. Don't dream of regretting. Lean into the moment. Take responsibility to meet it head on. You'll never regret overcompensating at the moment so that you're preparing people for meeting this moment in the responsible way.
Yeah. Gavin Newsom. But Gavin admitted, here's the governor of the most populous state, fifth largest economy in the globe, shutting everything down. And he admitted that people are starting to get wary of social distancing, of being a prisoner in their own little space. People are starting to get very wary of that. And that's why I say, the middle of the month is going to be big. Each state will have its peak. Some may not come till May. For other states, it's going to come in the next 10 days or so. The question, though, is how long can we do this? How long can we stay inside? In this pandemic, I couldn't. Everybody's got their own breaking point, and we have talked about that. But I think as a group, that breaking point, I could see through May. I don't believe that many people are going to go, okay, we'll give you another 30 days, 60 days. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think for some states, they'll start to come out of this thing in May and start to look pretty good. The numbers will start to look good. Other states may not be as affected. But I think as a group, as an entire nation, I think come June 1st, things are going to change. Things are going to change. People are going to say, we've had enough. We have had enough. We've had enough. Fredo Cuomo, as we all know, Chris Cuomo has tested positive for it. He's still doing the show.
I'm doing the show, as you know, in my basement in COVID containment. The most important point for us to discuss is that it is crazy that anything less than 100% of this country is under a stay-home order. Are we really just going to wait for one community after the other to fall the same way, just keep repeating the same mistakes? You do not need 102 fever to get hot about what we learned today. Our death toll has doubled in just 3 days' time. This is the best and only chance we have to mitigate the effects of the virus.
You got to have everybody buying in on it, though. That's just, you have to have the buy-in on it. And it's got to be everybody. But you also have to give people hope, and you're going to have to give people an end date. And that's the problem. If we say we're all in, then let's be all in. But also, you can't say, all right, we're all going to stay indoors for 60 days, minus essentials. We're still going to have to get food. Certain things are still going to have to happen. There are going to be essential businesses. We're not just going to say we're shutting up. We're going to drop rice and beans on your door in gas masks every, week or so. That's not going to happen. But essential businesses will be the only thing open. Everybody has to stay indoors. But we're only going to do this for 45 or 60 days. And then after that, if we come out and we see another spike, we're going to make it abundantly clear that those who can work, get back to life, those who are potentially in a situation where compromised immune system, they're older, whatever it is, you are going to have to self-isolate. And if you choose to come out, it's at your own risk. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Love hearing from all of you. One thing that I was, as I'm watching CNN and I was saying this to a couple people I worked with yesterday, it's a tough watch anyways. Fox is, I don't watch Fox. I don't watch MSNBC, and I try not to watch really any of them. But I keep up with as much as I can. It's my job. I look at different sources. The sensationalism of this, though, is also, I don't buy into it. It's important. Absolutely. We need to follow it. Yes. It's the story not of the year. It's the story of potentially the last, since 9/11, I don't think there's ever been anything close to this. And when you look at 9/11 affected us and a few other places, and while everybody felt for us, the reality is this has affected the globe, and we're all feeling it together. But the sensationalism, I can't get into that. They'll show like people who've died, and they'll talk about it as if the people we've lost. Like, that's reserved for shootings. So, do you know what I mean? It's like we lose 1,700 people a day to heart disease, 1,600 people a day to cancer. There are people in the hospital today that are going to die that aren't dying from COVID-19, and it's just so bizarre. And that sensationalism, it's uncomfortable, right? And it's never anything good. Like, if my question is, like with Chris Cuomo, right? I don't want anything to happen to the guy, right? Fredo may have disagreements in some of the stuff he does, but I don't want anything to happen to him. But I question, like, what if he gets through this and it's mild? Does he play it up? because it's good for the camera? That's a fair question.
This virus came at me. I've never seen anything like it, okay? I've had a fever, 102, 103, 103 plus, that wouldn't quit. And it was like somebody was beating me like a piñata. And I was shivering so much that I chipped my tooth. These are not cheap, okay? And they call them the rigors, like rigors, R-I-G-O-R-S, but rigors. So the sun comes up, I'm awake. I was up all night. It was I'm telling you, I was hallucinating. My dad was talking to me. I was seeing people from college, people I haven't seen in forever. It was freak what I lived through last night.
Why are you on the air? How is it that you have all of those things going on and then you're able to get on the air? Like, I think that's a fair question to ask. Because I know this, and let me tell you how television works. I'll give you guys a behind-the-scenes thing. They want you to have a strong, outrageous opinion on a lot of these shows. And if you don't get asked back. If you have any common sense, they don't want any part of that. If you're willing to be a flamethrower, gaslight everything, just continue to pour gas onto things over and over again and light the fire, they love that. If you come at it with common sense and like, because they want reactions. This is real, but it's not a death sentence. This is real, and we need to pay attention to it every single day while this thing is going on, and we need to break it down with real data, real numbers. But our life isn't going to be this forever. But they know, and I'm not just talking about CNN, I'm talking about every single one of the stations and, radio personality. Like, I talk to other big personalities, and we'll joke because some of them are into the sensationalism about everything. And other ones are like, I can't do that. That's not genuine. I can't come on here and just go, oh my God, you're all going to die. And this is a conspiracy, or that's not it. I want to give you the data and the facts over the feelings. We can have empathy. We don't need to be stupid. We shouldn't live in fear. For some of us, we'll live in faith. And for others of us, we're just going to get on with it, and we're going to face it on in different ways. I'm good with that. But it is, it's like, so you're telling me that you hallucinated all night, you have 103 fever, all of these things are going on, and then you're ready to get on the show. Is that going to happen again tonight? Is that now, I've heard that at night sometimes it's worse for people. But I've also, there's a guy, and everybody's different. Your body reacts different. And some people you hear that they're fine one day, they get bad the next, they're fine another day, and then they go downhill overnight. And for men, it's worse. But I've not heard people come out and say, oh yeah, I was 103, I was hallucinating, I was talking to old college friends, and then I'm ready to go on television. That's why I wonder if he had mild symptoms and he doesn't miss any days. Does that tell the story that they want to tell? Isn't that fair that we ask a question like that for all of this? I just want, to me, news is, I'm going to deliver you the facts. The facts are, this thing's deadlier to men than it is to women. The facts are that if you have underlying conditions and you're over the certain age, it's really, really dangerous. It's not a death sentence, but it's dangerous. If we look at the overall numbers with what we think probably have it and the mortality rate, then maybe it's 3 times as deadly as the flu. It's the spread rate that scares people. There's a lot that goes into it. But when you start to look at these numbers, and we're never going to have the real numbers. If you go look at the flu, H1N1, even the Spanish flu, they always give you a weird, it killed between this many and this many. Because they don't really know, because some people die of it and you never know. And some people they thought died from it, they didn't. But I just want as much facts and data as I can find. And then let me make up my own mind. The sensationalism, that's why you can't watch this stuff every day. Go outside. Telling you guys, watch the Tiger King. Takes your mind off everything. You think to yourself, wow, as crazy as this world is right now, that world they lived in, way crazier. Watch movies, get outside, even if you go on a walk, even if you're just going to go in your backyard, do 20 jumping jacks, do some push-ups, do something, but don't inundate your life with this stuff and realize that they're competing for eyeballs. Sensationalism is always going to, if there was just a guy on C-SPAN giving you the facts and data, talking to people without any slant, that's not going to get you. That's like putting a fishing hook into the water with no bait on it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. You can tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Speaking of Tiger King, was it real? Was it not? Some are speaking out. We'll touch on that as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
I, you, he, she, it. Lucy is a girl.
Point of personal privilege. Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Shut up, boo. Ain't nobody got time for that.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
Carole Baskin is going after Tiger King hard, saying the Netflix docudrama is full of lies and innuendo. In a post on her Big Cat Rescue website, she says when the directors first came to her 5 years ago, they wanted to do an expose about animal abuse in the world of privately owned big cats. But what they made was a salacious and sensational series with no regard for the truth. She says the suggestion that she had anything to do with the disappearance of her millionaire husband in 1997 couldn't be further from the truth. And overall, the series is disappointing.
Yeah, a lot of people are speaking out saying there's a bunch of lies in there. Sensationalism. We just talked about it, right? With Chris Cuomo and how he's battling this and he's talking about, because that's what that's what works. We have a sensationalism president, from the way that he acts to the way he's covered. Its sky is falling on a daily basis. Even take away the coronavirus, from impeachment to the battles with the media, it's all about sensationalism. And it should be no different than with the coverage of this. That's why it's hard to find real data that matters. That's why I like it when you've got Fauci and Dr. Birx. But I listen to a lot of different people. And much like everything else with science, you get one doctor over here saying, this is it, the end of the world's coming, and there's not a lot we're going to be able to do. We can only, we're still a year or two away from any kind of real vaccine, and you're just going to have to fight it off. And then you get another doctor over here going, it's not the end of the world. I just want to know what the numbers are. What's the data look like? What's it tell? Who's most at risk? Men over the age of 65. Men in general. But healthy people going to survive it. You're going to get a few that die, but a few that die every year from the flu, by the way, that are healthy. So I just want the numbers. I think that's all any of us really want. I can do without the sky is falling, world's coming to an end thing. And with the Tiger King, the show is great. Do they play it up? Yeah. Have you ever watched a reality show? Do you think that, on any given day, it's like, oh, I got a great idea. Let's get on our airplane, Kardashians, and we'll go to, Boise, Idaho, and we'll do, I don't know, we'll go and throw axes at a bar. And then we'll get drunk and we'll fight somebody. That's not real. That's not. It's not real at all. Any of those shows. They put all these people in weird positions because it might be fun, and they tell everybody to play it up. And they do. They do. That's why I caution everybody that when you watch this stuff and you get into the rabbit hole, to snap out of it by saying, okay, hold on. How real is this? Because too many people I see and I talk to on a daily basis who they just go down these rabbit holes and they sit there all day and they watch the CNN, they watch Fox, they watch MSNBC, whatever it is. They consume it on a day-to-day basis. It's hurting your mental health. It is. It is hurting your mental health. And you can't let that happen. You can't. There's a guy, I call him Mr. P, 101. He was born into the Spanish flu epidemic or pandemic, survived it, survived the Holocaust in World War II, and he got COVID-19, and he survived it. This guy's in Italy. He went through everything and then some. Still here. You will hear very little about that. You ever notice, you ever watch television on any of these shows and you never hear anybody that comes on and go, yeah, I had it and it wasn't the worst thing ever. No, because there's no story there. So remember, they're looking for stories and sensationalism. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Tiger King doesn't need sensationalism. It was just what it was. The people in the show themselves were worthy of watching. And the chaos and craziness are worthy of watching. It's a weird world, man. It is a weird world. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
More proof of the economic toll that the pandemic is having on the U.S. economy. New numbers from the Labor Department show 6.5 million people have filed for first-time weekly unemployment benefits. And that's in addition to the 3.5 million people who filed last week, bringing the number to 10 million. Most analysts expect continued weekly reports to be in the millions for the foreseeable future. Once again, from the Labor Department, 6.5 million people filing for first-time weekly unemployment benefits.
Whoa. Is that insane? Doubled? Last week was the biggest of all time. Not even close. October 92 had 695,000 people file in 1 week. Last week it was like 3.3 million. Those are the people that could get through. Some people thought they still had jobs, were hopeful, couldn't get through. This week 6.6. Who knows where it's going to officially top out? As they'll like everything, they'll reconfigure the numbers. That doesn't even include the people that are going to be let go this week. People that couldn't get through and are working on filing, the ones who thought they filed, but it crashed and they didn't get it all the way done and will have to refile again. I've heard everywhere from 28% to 40% unemployment. That is a massive, massive, massive number. 40%. So think about this. 40% unemployment means what? 60% of people have jobs. So 4 out of 10 people who are of working age, who could be employed, won't be. That is nowhere near. This has the potential of making 2008 and the bank crisis look like nothing. This has the potential to make the Depression, at least with the economic numbers, as far as unemployment, look like nothing. The difference is the bounce back will happen. Will it happen as fast as Trump and some people are hoping? I don't think so, because I think there's a psyche of that's in the American people right now that has braced itself in such a way that I don't know, even if we opened up in June 1st and everything was go, that we're going to get out there and start right back up again. And the longer this goes, the less opportunity is going to be there for people to get their jobs back. Yesterday was rent. How many people listening right now said, you know what? I was able to pay this, but I couldn't pay that. Or maybe I had enough to get through this month, but not next month. And even when I get all of the stuff that's coming, the $1,200 and the unemployment and the $600 extra for the unemployment in my state, how many are going to go, I have enough to pay some, but not all. And, I'm going to have living expenses like food and whatnot. This is going to be tough. These next 6 weeks to 2 months are going to be absolutely the toughest times that we will probably ever face. It's sad to think that. But you know what? We're in the middle of it. The ride has begun. And eventually, we're going to have a chance to get off of it. That's what we have to keep looking at. We have to keep saying, we're going to get off this thing. It ain't going to be tomorrow, but it is coming. It isn't going to be next week, but it is coming. It's probably not going to be next month, but it is coming. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. 96% of Americans are currently in a stay-at-home order. Yesterday, everybody's looking at Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, saying, well, what's going on with you?
We've got to defeat this, and so I felt it was prudent to extend it statewide. We don't have it running rampant in every corner of Florida, but I thought it was the prudent thing to do at this juncture. And so, yeah, you can do essential businesses, essential activities. Beyond that, we're asking people to stay close to home and try to avoid social contacts with other people. That's really how the virus spreads, through close contacts outside. Now, obviously, in the household it can spread, but if you stay in the household, then it's not going to get out in the broader public.
Yeah. Not going to get out to the broader public. The stay-at-home order. Stay at home. How long do we do that, though? That's the question that I ask a lot of experts. And I'm not just talking about the medical experts. I'm talking about the psychology side of it. I've talked to several psychologists. I've talked to several local leaders as well as national leaders. All of them give you a different answer. And it really comes down to the individual. What do you have in you to do this? Some people say, you know what, I'm going to do whatever it takes. If I have to stay indoors for a year, I'm going to do whatever it takes. A lot of other people, and most of the people I talk to, say, I can give it 30 days, I can give it 60 days. I can't do any more than that. Are we going to get to the point where even going outside is going to be prohibited? Outside of maybe if you have a backyard or a balcony, depending on where you live? In China, the crackdown was so big in Wuhan that your dog had to go, or your cat, had whatever you had animal-wise, had to go to the bathroom inside. You were not allowed to take your dog outside. Think about that. Are we going to have drones? I mean, Alabama and Massachusetts, and there's going to be a lot of constitutional questions that are going to be asked in the coming weeks and months and potentially years, are giving out addresses to the law enforcement for people. They're not giving out names. They're giving out addresses of people who've tested positive for the coronavirus. Think about that for a second. Well, if you have an address as an officer, you'll get a name. It's not hard. You can go in, get an address from somebody, pay $1 and find out who that person is. How they get around these HIPAA laws is crazy. But there is a fear, too, that we're going to start to see our rights shrink. And as we know, once government takes something, rarely do they offer it back to you. See 9/11 again. See the Patriot Act. See the spying. See all of that stuff. It's uncomfortable for sure. But it is a different time. And I think we need to be in this together. But I also think that our leaders, well, you have to be strong and you have to come out and say, we're doing this. It's going to be for 45 days. This is what it's going to be. This is how we're going to live for the next 45 days. After that, I've told the medical experts and I've told everybody that you have 45 days to get this thing in hand and under control, and the American people are going to do their part. But after 45 days, we will get back to work. And if we have to take different measures, including isolating people who have compromised immune systems and an older generation, then we will do that. The rest of healthy people need to get out there and get churning, because at the end of it, the potential of poverty and destitute way of living can cost just as many, if not more, lives over generations. And that's scary too. And something else to think about that isn't being talked about is while we're in the house, while we're sheltering in place, and then we start to lax some of these rules, right? They're going to be a little bit more lax, and we're allowing people to get out. We're allowing people to go out and do their things. We're allowing people to start to get back to living. And it pops up again because we didn't get rid of it. We just pushed pause for a while. And it shows up again. You can't ask the American people to do it again. You can't ask small business owners, employees, big business, and everybody, nope, we got to stop down again. Because that is just not a way to live a life. At some point in time, we're going to have to say, screw it. We're going to take this thing head on. And it may cost lives. But at the same time, what's it going to be like on the other side? Is that even a life worth living if all houses are boarded up, homelessness is through the roof, and, the government, because of having to print so much money to try to keep, some sort of semblance of bills paid for people, have made inflation so ridiculous that we are becoming a third world country. That just can't happen. Our leaders need to say, hey, it's time to fish or cut bait. We're either going to go full force and give it X amount of time, or we're going to say, we're just going to languish and fight this thing in individual states. And I understand the big thing with the president and states' rights, because that's a tough thing, because you get to the point where you start to, are we impeding? Are we taking away state rights? But if we're going to do this, let's make a decision. Let's pick the lane we're going to be in and realize that there is an off-ramp. And whatever happens in that 30, 45, 60 days, at the end of it, we're not going any further. We're getting off on that ramp. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, Raycons. What makes me laugh is how many people will go, I'm home and the kids are here and I just need peace and quiet. Plus I'm trying to do stuff and I'm trying to talk to people. And sometimes I'm Skyping or, on Zoom or whatever. And thank God for the Raycons. Yeah. Best earbuds around, half the price, right? I mean, they're well under $100 for the best earbuds around. Are you insane not to get something like this? Plus, I'm going to save you 15%. It's incredible. It really is. And the nice noise isolating fit, you get 6 hours of playtime. The Bluetooth pairing is like that. The sound quality is incredible. And did I mention noise isolating fit? So even if you're done with all your stuff and you just want to relax and you want to listen to something or you want to watch something and do it in some peace and quiet while everybody else is doing your thing, you can do that with these. Save yourself 15%. Get the best earbuds around. Again, well under $100. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Coming up in a little bit, Dr. Jennifer Ashton's going to join us. talk about all the craziness, chaos, try to put and shed some real light with numbers and data. If you don't know, you're chief correspondent for ABC News, so she's going to join us in about 5 minutes or so. Right, what's trending? Google. So Google. Census. Yesterday, they kicked it off. I don't know how the coronavirus is going to affect it. People are asking that question. Adam Schlesinger died. If you don't know him, interesting character, Schlesinger. He was the co-founder and lead singer of Fountains of Wayne, and he died yesterday. But he had a bunch of stuff that wrote, produced, sang. You know that song? I like that song. Yeah, he died from complications of coronavirus. He's only 52 years old. And for other people out there, he was a big composer, did a lot of stuff, nominated for a ton of Emmys and I think an Oscar as well. And he had another song that was quite a big hit, that was catchy, and I actually enjoyed the movie.
Well, I try to forget you, girl, but it's just so hard to do. Every time you do that thing you do.
Yeah. So he passed away yesterday, and, it just goes to show you what this thing is all about, what it can do to healthy people as well. Top of that, Florida stayed home. Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood did their thing last night. That trended. I watched a little bit of it. Again, surreal. Head on over to the Twitter. Bob Kraft, you don't know him? He owns the Patriots, amongst other things. He sent a private plane over, a Patriots plane, to get a bunch of stuff for hospitals, masks and protective equipment. Jobless claims, obviously, just trending big time. 6.6 million. 6.6 million. That is a record. Smashing last week's record, which was also a record. 2 weeks, 10 million claims. Second wave. Trending. Why? Because Asia is bracing itself for a second wave of the coronavirus. Is starting to see their numbers rise. And this is the thing that we've talked about. If you look at the Spanish flu, first wave was bad, but not horrific. Second wave was the deadliest wave. The third wave was longer, and while it was deadly, it was not as deadly as the second one. The second one was a big gut punch. We were having, I think in 1 month, 195,000 people died in 1 month from the Spanish flu here in the United States. So think about that. That's the whole sheltering in place is, if that's what we have to do, that sounds great. But if we're just prolonging it, meaning you're not getting any closer to it, we're not going to have a vaccine for another 24 months, 18 months, maybe 16 at the best. At least here, maybe some other country comes up with one and they're able to rush it out. But let's just say it's, 16, 18 months. We're not staying in for 16 or 18 months. And we can't shut down every 6 months, every 9 months. So at first we need what? Treatment, then the vaccine. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me and text the program as well. You see her on ABC. She's her chief medical correspondent. She's on Good Morning America almost every day. Dr. Jennifer Ashton is going to join us straight ahead to talk about this, give us some real numbers and data. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
You see her when we're talking pandemic. She's the one that everybody's turning to. She's the chief correspondent for ABC. Dr. Jennifer Ashton is joining us. All right. It's crazy. It's chaos out there. We watch the stuff daily. Everybody's asking the question, and it's the hardest question to ask, which is there light at the end of the tunnel, and are we going to get through this anytime soon?
Well, we're definitely going to get through it, but soon is unknown. No one has a crystal ball, but the forecasts, which are based on these epidemiologic models that you hear Dr. Tony Fauci and Dr. Deborah Birx talking about every day, suggests that it's going to be a while. It could be a month. It could be more than a month. But I think the tricky thing for people to understand with this virus is that there's typically a pretty big lag time. It could be 2 weeks. It could even be more than 2 weeks in terms of what we see today really reflects steps that were taken or not taken 2 weeks ago. So that's why, what we see down the road really depends on how aggressive we are today and tomorrow and for the next couple of weeks.
Mask. We hear a lot of things about masks. Yesterday, we were hearing that maybe they were going to come out and the White House was going to tell everybody, hey, we should all be wearing masks outside. We shouldn't be wearing masks. People don't know what kind of mask works. And give people an understanding of the mask thing and how it works and what it protects from and what it doesn't protect from.
Yeah, there's so much confusion about that. So first of all, the most important thing is that right now masks of any kind are in very short supply. They're part of the PPE or personal protective equipment that healthcare workers and first responders need desperately. So as the CDC reevaluates this recommendation of whether or not the general public should be wearing some kind of mask or face shield, they are doing that for the type of mask that keeps viral particles in. So that's really important. People don't understand that. They think they're recommending masks to protect the person wearing the mask. That is not the case. They might be recommending masks, if they change their guidelines, to protect the people around the person wearing the mask. So the thought is that if everyone wore a mask, we wouldn't be spreading this virus to each other, and that could help slow the spread. And that's largely based on data that we think, helped Asia flatten their curve so quickly because in their populations, wearing routine masks is pretty much an everyday thing.
Talking to Dr. Jennifer Ashton, ABC chief medical correspondent. So we hear a lot about could be seasonal. And we know with the flu, as things start to warm up, the virus itself tends to go dormant, and then we may have another season of it. Are there going to be some states that may fare better because if it is kind of seasonal, like here we are in Arizona, it's starting to really warm up? Is there any data that kind of reflects that maybe some states, especially warmer states, may not get hit as hard?
We don't know. First of all, Arizona is one of my favorite states in the country, by the way. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. I love Arizona. We don't know. We are looking at, number one, behavior of other respiratory viruses that typically do have some kind of seasonal variation. That's number one. Number two, we're not sure what the effect of temperature and change in humidity will have on this novel coronavirus. And number three, it's important to remember that we live in a global society. So when we're in our summer, the southern hemisphere is in their winter. And because people travel all over the world, this virus we've already seen can spread globally. So it remains to be seen whether we're going to see a change up here in the United States as we get into warmer months. But if we do, as we heard from Dr. Tony Fauci, that would kind of buy us some time to prepare for a second wave. And when he says prepare, really that means get testing more in order, get more, protective equipment in order, and work on the clinical trials for treatment and, more rapid diagnosis and vaccines. So everyone seems to think there might be a second wave. It's just a matter of when that happens.
Treatment first, vaccine second, and I try to explain that to people because if we did find a treatment or two, a cocktail of drugs, whatever it ends up being, that's going to take a lot of pressure off of our healthcare system from being completely inundated and overrun to being able to manage this. How many trials are going on right now? And if we did find something, how soon could that we could start rolling that out?
Well, a lot of trials are going on right now all over the world involving a number of medications, antiviral medications, and they're trying to see not just can they make a difference in patients who are moderately or critically ill with COVID-19, but are they safe in that patient population? We know these drugs, if they're on the market for other indications, are safe for those things. But when you talk about, for example, the drug hydroxychloroquine, yes, we're hearing that's an anti-malaria drug, but it also is used for people with rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. So it's safe for those people and those indications, but we don't know whether it's safe to be given to someone who's sick with COVID-19. So that's one example of the trials that are ongoing right now. You know, we study drugs differently when they're under the emergency use authorization / compassionate use category. They don't have to be as rigorous and as perfect design studies as we do, you know, in other times in medicine and science. But, you know, we do have to do studies. We have to do clinical trials. We can't just assume that it's going to work. And remember, for any drug that has a potential benefit, there are always side effects that we have to consider.
We see, Doctor, we see all of these numbers and the mortality rate and all of these things. But one thing I don't think we get a handle on is how, for every one person that tests positive that we know of, how many other ones are out there that are asymptomatic, may show absolutely no signs of it, but have it. And that's something that it's hard to get the data that's real if we don't know how many people actually have this thing.
Oh, 100%. So you bring up a couple of really important points. Number one, when you see the tallies globally or in the United States of confirmed cases and confirmed deaths, you know, there are a lot of people who say probably add a 0 to the confirmed cases, because we know, based on just recently released statements coming out of the CDC, that up to 25% of people infected with coronavirus can have no symptoms at all. So remember, when you see confirmed cases, that's hovering around 10% right now of the people who actually get tested in this country. Those are the ones with symptoms. Those are the ones who feel sick enough to seek medical attention and testing. There may be, you know, orders of magnitude more people who don't have symptoms, are not aware that they're infected, and therefore aren't even being tested. So that's a really important number that has been elusive right now. And we will hopefully get a better grasp on that when we're able to do antibody testing, which is the blood test that tells us if we've been exposed to a virus and if our body has developed antibodies as an immune reaction to that. But that's not FDA approved yet, and we're waiting for that literally, hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Hey, how many people, I mean, because we talk about, well, this thing could be 30, 40 million people it could infect, but we have 40 million people in our country, and that means that everybody's probably going to be exposed to it at least on one occasion, but there still would be 300 million people that would never catch this. Why is that?
Well, first of all, some of the estimates are not just that 40 million people may be exposed to it, that 40% of the population may be infected at some point, and that's the low estimate. You know, we have to remember that coronaviruses, not this particular one, but the family, are responsible for 30% of common colds worldwide. So you and I have definitely had a strain of a coronavirus at some point in our lifetime. This is a new strain, and it's a particularly severe and aggressive and easily transmissible strain. But, you know, when you think about 40% or more of the U.S. population at some point being infected with this, that's a lot of people. And if only 20% are serious, that's still a lot of people. And if only 5% need ICU care, that's big numbers. So that's why these aggressive measures right now to buy us time and flatten the curve are so important.
Last question. Appreciate you coming on today. I was reading CDC had a report out today talking about the fact that what we already have thought is pretty much being proved out, which is diabetes, heart disease, COPD, things of that nature affect these people, and this disease affects them far more than anybody else. And it's really proving itself out that most of the people in the ICU, up to 78% of ICU patients have at least one of those underlying conditions. And it shows why being healthy is so important.
Absolutely. And, I want to be clear, when we interpret that data, and, we're seeing more of it, just came out this week in a journal, The Lancet, out of the Chinese series of patients, and we're seeing similar things here in terms of the groups that are more at high risk. Yes, with age, the mortality risk or the death risk goes up. We know that even though men and women are equally likely to become infected, men are twice as likely to die of COVID-19 than women are at every age group. We don't know why that is, but with advancing age, we do tend to see more diabetes, high blood pressure, heart, lung, and kidney disease, or other conditions that weaken or suppress the immune system, and that puts people at risk. I just want to say, though, that doesn't mean that we will not see younger and healthy people affected by this and sadly even lose their lives to this, because that's just the way it is in medicine. But we do have to remember that statistics are important because they give us an idea of, where to target our attention in terms of maximal prevention and protection. And it's definitely with the older group. It's definitely with men, and it's definitely with people who have one or more chronic medical conditions.
Word of wisdom to everybody, if you can get everybody, because one thing I get a lot of feedback from listeners is they all feel like this is a death sentence, and because we focus on one particular thing and not the other, that 99% of people will probably survive this. It is weird psychologically how people think that if they get this, they're going to die.
Oh, yeah. And listen, doctors are not immune to that either, by the way. I know my whole family is doctors. All my best friends are doctors. Every one of us is scared. But my advice to people is that when you get scared and you feel like, everything is taken to an extreme, go based on fact, not fear, and evidence, not emotion. And the statistics are important, that 80% of cases are mild, that the vast majority of patients, even those who have serious illness, will recover. But we still have to think of ourselves collectively here. And that goes for every part of the country, by the way. The flattening the curve attempts will not work if only the hotspot cities do it. Everyone has to do it, because today it could be New Orleans, Detroit, L.A., Florida, and New York. Tomorrow it could be Scottsdale, Phoenix, and Denver, Colorado. So we all have to take those steps as if they really apply to us personally, because they do, and try not to let fear dictate how we respond, because generally in medicine and science, when you respond with panic, good things don't happen. When you act calmly and methodically, you set yourself up for the best chances of success.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Jennifer Ashton. I know you're busy. She's the chief medical correspondent for ABC, among other things. We really appreciate you coming on today. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. Stay safe.
323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show, the only place so far that the Mueller investigation hasn't deep probed for collusion.
Stay tuned.
This is Chad Benson.
Good morning, aviators.
The sequel Top Gun Maverick is still scheduled to open June 24th, and the head of AMC says he hopes theaters will be open by then. AMC CEO Adam Aron tells CNBC that screens could be showing films again by mid-June, but also noted that nothing is for certain. This comes after this week Sony moved most of its major releases to next year, causing some to speculate that the lucrative summer box office season might be blown out completely. And when theaters do reopen, Aaron doesn't think there will be lingering fears about gathering in crowds, saying people are feeling cooped up and want to get out and have life return to normal.
Is that a possibility? Yeah. How likely is it? That I couldn't tell you. All I do know is unemployment numbers are through the roof, and in 2 weeks, 10 million people have filed.
More than 6 million Americans filed new claims for unemployment benefits last week. It is by far the highest total in a single week and twice as many as the week before. The staggering figure comes as nearly every state has imposed some kind of stay-at-home order. The newly laid off have overwhelmed state unemployment offices, websites have crashed, and phone lines have been busy.
Yeah, and that's not going to change anytime soon. And the questions are going to linger out there. What do we do? What do we do? Do we give it these 30 more days and then make a decision? Or do we play it by ear and give it another 30, potentially May into June, and then say, that's it? I don't know. Any of us know. But I do know that as you start to see these numbers, something is going to have to change. And I'm not just talking about the people that are infected. I'm talking about the unemployment numbers, because half of America not working potentially would be so devastating, and potentially even more loss of life on top of everything else, and would take us God knows how long to dig back out. And I do mean God knows how long. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I also signed up for TikTok. Now, Kara, you're a little bit younger than me, right? What are you, 25?
I'm 27.
27. Have you seen the TikTok?
I watch some of them, but I don't actually go on the app most of the time.
No, I have got TikTok, right? I'm going to start. If you don't know what TikTok is, this is another way China's taking over the world. But it is interesting. It's like Instagram, but with moving pictures. And it's very interesting to watch it. And if you've ever been on there, like this week, they were exposed because if you go on the TikTok, you will swear you're probably the ugliest human being on earth, no matter who you are. Because all that's on there is beautiful people. Right? So you get like 15 or 20 seconds. Now you can film certain things and upload it, and so it'd be longer. But by and large, it's about 15 seconds or so. But I watch it because it's interesting, and it's the same like 8 or 10 songs, you know, like what's the big thing, and everybody does stuff. But this is what I do know. A lot of guys with six packs and no shirts, and a lot of girls in yoga pants and crop tops. So if you're looking for, and they said that the algorithms have been exposed that if you're ugly or not appealing to the eyes or whatever you want to call it, you get pushed back down. If you're beautiful, your views get pumped up. It's interesting, though. It's fun to watch. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. A lot of people that do flips. I've noticed that. There's a lot of flippy people out there. A lot of people doing crazy stuff, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. A lot of parkour stuff, and a lot of people doing crazy fitness things. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me and text the program. And if you missed the interview with Dr. Jennifer Ashton, check out the podcast. You can grab it at pretty much everywhere that they have podcasts. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
More proof of the economic toll that the pandemic is having on the U.S. economy. New numbers from the Labor Department show 6.5 million people have filed for first-time weekly unemployment benefits. And that's in addition to the 3.5 million people who filed last week, bringing the number to 10 million. Most analysts expect continued weekly reports to be in the millions for the foreseeable future. Once again, from the Labor Department, 6.5 million people filing for first-time weekly unemployment benefits.
Imagine that. We're not just beating records, and these are the records you don't want to have. We're throttling them. We were 5 times greater last week than the worst week we ever had, 82 in October, as far as unemployment. We doubled that. And God only knows where we're going from here. It is ugly. It is nasty. And we're going to have to start thinking about what happens from here. What can the American people stomach? And I mean that in the financial sense. What can we stomach? 50%? 60%? 80%? How long does it take to get back on our feet? That's what Americans want to know. Every question that I get asked and that I ask other experts in both the financial and medical world is, when are we going to come out of this? Asia right now, for those of you not keeping score, is starting to see a second wave. Can we handle a second wave? I don't think we have a choice. I think the second wave is that's a given. Revisit history. Spanish flu. First wave, deadly. Second wave, the deadliest. Third wave, deadly. But that second wave was a beast. And what they're finding out is sheltering in place doesn't make the monster go away. It's still there. So then what? Do we just say, screw it, let's do it, let's get out there? How long do we have to try to shelter in place while you guys figure something out? Bill Gates is saying we should do this for, until there's a vaccine potentially, or at least a solid treatment. Now, I think a treatment is closer than we think, and I think that will happen, but the vaccine isn't going to happen anytime soon. And we cannot wait 18 months to get back on our feet. That is just not possible. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Are we getting close to a national lockdown? That is a possibility. But if I'm Trump, the lockdown works like this. I look at all of the medical experts and say, let me tell you, let me give you two sides of this. All right? Everybody says you're heartless, you're cold, all of these things. Is what it is. Let me give you two sides. The deaths that won't be counted because of poverty, loss of many other things when it comes to the medical world, devastation in our economy that causes suicides and many other things. Those are the untold deaths that will not count towards this. And the deaths that we might face. How do we weigh the two? It's tough. I would look right at them and I'd say, here's the deal. I'm going to get people to shelter in place. We're going to do it nationally. I'm going to talk with all of the governors and say, we've got to do this. This is what the experts, Fauci, you guys are all going to be here. But I'm going to tell them that in this many days, whatever they decide, we're getting off the merry-go-round and we're going back out there. That sounds harsh. I get it. I understand. But at some point in time, there has to be something. There has to be something for us to get back to. Because at the end of the day, if we come back and there's not a lot left, we'll all ask ourselves, was it worth it? If inflation's through the roof, if we will look more like Venezuela, we've printed so much money to try to keep everybody's head above water. Those are questions that will be absolutely asked, and it's right to ask those questions. Leaders have to answer awful questions, no matter how painful it is. So if we're going to do this, I say it's time to fish or cut bait, because I feel like we're half in, half out. It depends. We want to let states have their thing, and I'm all for states having their things. But I want the medical professionals to know you're going to stand shoulder by shoulder with me, and I'm going to give you guys 45 more days to come up with something that can help mitigate this, treat it, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to cut all of the red tape out and say there is no more red tape. You guys have the full force of our government behind you. Now you get the business and you get it done. Because otherwise, we're going to go in another direction. And we have to be willing to not be in or out. We got to be in, all in, or we're going to have to go in a direction of we're just going to have to let it take its course, build up herd immunity, realize there's going to be some deaths, do the best we possibly can, and that some parts of the country may be worse off, which still may happen anyways, and that's it. But right now, I just feel like we're all just kind of tiptoeing, not really sure. There's certain states are locking it down as best as possible. Other states, like where I am, the directions are very ambiguous and vague. It's either or, but there has to be, if we're going to choose one, including the lock it down, there has to be an end game. We can't be here 90 days from now going, nope, not yet. We can't be here 90 days from now going, okay, you guys can go back outside. And then when you do, it starts to crop up again. And we tell everybody to get back inside and shut it all down. That can't be this again. It just can't. People want an end date. Oh, no, I can't give it to them. Well, you have to, right? When you give people no end date, guess what happens? If I told a kid, you've got till tomorrow to get something done, what's that kid do? What do? You get something done that you're supposed to. If I say, get this done, and I know that sounds weird. Well, Chad, it's a virus. It's going to run its course. It is. I get that. At the same time, this is about us as a nation, not only as individuals, but as a nation. We've got to take this thing and say, we're going to do this or this. We can't do half-assery, which is what I feel like we've been doing in some areas. And other areas we had. Now, if you want to say, let's shoot for herd immunity and we're going to allow people to do their thing and to be responsible on their own, I got zero problems with that. If you want to say, shut it down and we're going to give you 30 or 45 days, and then if that doesn't work, we're going to take the herd immunity approach and we're going to get back out there, I got no problem with that. But if you're going to say this state shut down for this amount of time, that state over here, but you could still travel in between, it's just, it makes no sense. And I feel like we've got 50 different puzzle pieces that don't fit, but we're trying to make it fit, and it's not uniform.
Together we're going to win this war, and the sooner we do, the sooner we can begin to rebuild, rebound, and return to normal lives. We went from the best economy that this country has ever seen, the best employment numbers we've ever had, 160 million people working, almost 160 million, to a point where the professionals came to me and they say, sir, you're going to have to shut the country down. I said, what does that mean? They said, sir, you're going to have to shut it down. And we're going to build it up, and I think we're going to build it up fast. I think we're going to have a tremendous rebound.
Are we? We'll talk about that. What kind of rebound can we actually expect to have? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Everybody's doing their part as best they possibly can. Companies around the globe are chipping in. Right now, MyPillow is doing that. So if you saw Mike Lindell earlier this week, he's ordered that their production line switch to start making masks for all the hospitals. He needs to get everything out of the warehouses. And he's saying, hey, I got a great idea. Let's BOGO everything. I mean, everything. The Supima MyPillows, the Giza towels and Dream sheets, the MyPillow towels, the Roll and Go Anywhere pillows, duvet covers, neck and bolster pillows. You get it. 2 for 1. You buy one, you get one free. 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty, machine washable and dryable. And by the way, sleep, vitally important towards your immunity system. So think about that for a second. Just what a little thing may do, especially now with all the stress going on. I think we can all use a good night's sleep as best as possible. So this is what's going on. You go to mypillow.com. There's a radio listener special page. You type in code Benson. You're going to get a 2 for 1. If you order his book, and Lindell's book, Mike Lindell's book is very interesting about his life, what he went through, drugs and all of it. If you order his book, you're going to get free shipping for everything, and you're going to get a $25 gift card for your next purchase. Great opportunity to get yourself something, to save yourself a little bit of money and to get something towards your next purchase. Go to MyPillow.com. Use the promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. How long will it take us to get back? We'll talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
Americans lost their jobs at an unprecedented speed and on an unprecedented scale as the country shut down to contain the virus. 6.6 million people filed new claims for unemployment insurance last week. And as jarring as that number is, it probably is less than the true number of the newly jobless, since state unemployment websites have been overloaded and calls aren't getting through.
How long is it going to take for us to get back? It's a fair question. I've said during this, when it became from an epidemic to a pandemic, and when you started to see what's happened globally, that the hit on the economy was going to be massive. There are going to be industries that will never come back. And there are also going to be innovation in industries that will come out of this. You go look at the Great Depression and many of the other huge financial disasters that we've had, there have been great innovation that has come out of them, and that is good. We need to look at those things because we are going to get through this, and it's not a death sentence, but it is not going to be overnight. I believe it'll probably take us 24 months to get back. 24. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit less, but I think that's a fair guesstimation. That we'll see unemployment hover in and around a certain level for quite a while. Will it be 50%? No. I think we'll get back to where unemployment is probably around 15%. A lot of gig workers as well. That's unfortunate but true. It's not just whether or not we flip the switch overnight. It's people getting their gigs back. Some may never get their gigs back. Some of those small businesses that are closing will never open. And the longer we stay closed as a nation, the more that's going to grow. And when new businesses crop up, which that will happen, right? It's going to take a while for them to get on their feet before they start hiring in droves. So this is one of those situations where it isn't going to be flip the switch. Now, when I think we come back, it'll be strong. We'll pass where we were. We'll get back, but it is going to take a while. And with all of that being said, you also have to think about the psyche of the American people. Are we going to be outspending money like we used to? Probably not. Many people are going to be living off their credit cards, are going to be falling further and further in debt. And when they finally get themselves back out there again, they're going to be spending months, if not a year or so, digging themselves out of a hole. I think bankruptcies are going to go through the roof. I think we all know that. I think a lot of people can be moving back in with mom and dad, and mom and dad may be moving with the kids, and vice versa, and everybody's going to be moving somewhere. You're going to find a lot of that. And I think we're going to see banks eventually say, especially if this thing goes on for too long, we can't afford this. Landlords, I know yesterday was rent day, and people are like, oh, we should cancel rent. Well, you know what? A lot of landlords are saying to themselves, okay, well, who's going to pay us? How long do we cancel it for? Because I got bills to pay. Do I get to cancel my rent? Do I get to cancel my mortgage payment? You're renting my house. There's a trickle-down effect, a domino-like effect. It is going to take a while. But we will get back on our feet, and we will come out of this better prepared for the next thing that may come. We will strengthen ourselves, and God willing, out of this, we'll become closer as a nation and get away from a lot of this partisan BS that we've consumed us for such a long time. And I think that's absolutely real. But it is going to take us a while. And we have to be prepared for that. We do. And now's the time, as good a time as any for some people who are saying, you know what? I'm going to be okay, but I need to start thinking about the future. Am I in the right business? Do I want to be in a position like this where I'm beholden to somebody? Do I want to think about switching? I mean, there's going to be opportunities here, too, for individuals to either start new businesses or to pick another career path. So I think this is, like I said, it's going to be tough. It's going to be ugly. It is. And I think we need to be prepared for that. But we can't say that it's the end of the world, because it's not. It's a change in pace. It is going to be tough, tougher for some, devastating for others, and some are going to do well. But if we pull together, we'll get through it in a much smoother path. It's like one of those things. You can do all you want. You can scream all you want. The roller coaster ride has already started, and there is no getting off here. You're going to have to go through the whole thing to get off on the other side. So you can either freak out or you can smile and do the best you can to enjoy it. Me, I choose the latter. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program. Chad, you're being a Debbie Downer. No, I'm being real. But you're going to survive this. I'm going to survive this. We're going to get through it. We're going to be stronger for it. Let's do it. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Do you have a message for the other governors who have not taken these strong measures? Should everyone be issuing these stay-at-home orders?
Our message is this: what are you waiting for? What more evidence do you need? If you think it's not going to happen to you, there are many proof points all across this country, for that matter, around the rest of the world. Don't dream of regretting. Lean into the moment. Take responsibility to meet it head on. You'll never regret overcompensating at the moment so that you're preparing people for meeting this moment in the responsible way.
Yeah. Gavin Newsom. But Gavin admitted, here's the governor of the most populous state, fifth largest economy in the globe, shutting everything down. And he admitted that people are starting to get wary of social distancing, of being a prisoner in their own little space. People are starting to get very wary of that. And that's why I say the middle of the month is going to be big. Each state will have its peak. Some may not come till May. For other states, it's going to come in the next 10 days or so. The question, though, is how long can we do this? How long can we stay inside? In this pandemic, I couldn't. Everybody's got their own breaking point, and we have talked about that. But I think as a group, that breaking point, I could see through May. I don't believe that many people are going to go, okay, we'll give you another 30 days, 60 days. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think for some states, they'll start to come out of this thing in May and start to look pretty good. The numbers will start to look good. Other states may not be as affected. But I think as a group, as an entire nation, I think come June 1st, things are going to change. Things are going to change. People are going to say, we've had enough. We have had enough. We've had enough. Fredo Cuomo, as we all know, Chris Cuomo has tested positive for it. He's still doing the show.
I'm doing the show, as you know, in my basement in COVID containment. The most important point for us to discuss is that it is crazy that anything less than 100% of this country is under a stay-home order. Are we really just going to wait for one community after the other to fall the same way? Just keep repeating the same mistakes? You do not need 102 fever to get hot about what we learned today. Our death toll has doubled in just 3 days' time. This is the best and only chance we have to mitigate the effects of the virus.
You got to have everybody buying in on it, though. That's just, you have to have the buy-in on it. And it's got to be everybody. But you also have to give people hope, and you're going to have to give people an end date. And that's the problem. If we say we're all in, then let's be all in. But also, you can't say, all right, we're all going to stay indoors for 60 days, minus essentials. We're still going to have to get food. Certain things are still going to have to happen. There are going to be essential businesses. We're not just going to say we're shutting up. We're going to drop rice and beans on your door in gas masks every, week or so. That's not going to happen. But essential businesses will be the only thing open. Everybody has to stay indoors. But we're only going to do this for 45 or 60 days. And then after that, if we come out and we see another spike, we're going to make it abundantly clear that those who can work, get back to life. Those who are potentially in a situation where compromised immune system, they're older, whatever it is, you are going to have to self-isolate. And if you choose to come out, it's at your own risk. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Love hearing from all of you. One thing that I was, as I'm watching CNN and I was saying this to a couple people I worked with yesterday, it's a tough watch anyways. Fox is, I don't watch Fox. I don't watch MSNBC, and I try not to watch really any of them. But I keep up with as much as I can. It's my job. I look at different sources. The sensationalism of this, though, is also, I don't buy into it. It's important. Absolutely. We need to follow it. Yes. It's the story not of the year. It's the story of potentially the last, since 9/11, I don't think there's ever been anything close to this. And when you look at 9/11 affected us and a few other places, and while everybody felt for us, the reality is this has affected the globe, and we're all feeling it together. But the sensationalism, I can't get into that. They'll show like people who've died, and they'll talk about it as if the people we've lost. Like, that's reserved for shootings. So, do you know what I mean? It's like we lose 1,700 people a day to heart disease, 1,600 people a day to cancer. There are people in the hospital today that are going to die that aren't dying from COVID-19, and it's just so bizarre. And that sensationalism, it's uncomfortable, right? And it's never anything good. Like, if my question is, like with Chris Cuomo, right? I don't want anything to happen to the guy, right? Fredo may have disagreements in some of the stuff he does, but I don't want anything to happen to him. But I question, like, what if he gets through this and it's mild? Does he play it up because it's good for the camera? That's a fair question.
This virus came at me. I've never seen anything like it, okay? I've had a fever, 102, 103, 103 plus, that wouldn't quit. And it was like somebody was beating me like a piñata. And I was shivering so much that I chipped my tooth. These are not cheap, okay? And they call them the rigors, like rigors, R-I-G-O-R-S, but rigors. So the sun comes up, I'm awake. I was up all night. It was I'm telling you, I was hallucinating. My dad was talking to me. I was seeing people from college, people I haven't seen in forever. It was freak what I lived through last night.
Why are you on the air? How is it that you have all of those things going on and then you're able to get on the air? Like, I think that's a fair question to ask. Because I know this, and let me tell you how television works. I'll give you guys a behind-the-scenes thing. They want you to have a strong, outrageous opinion on a lot of these shows. And if you don't get asked back. If you have any common sense, they don't want any part of that. If you're willing to be a flamethrower, gaslight everything, just continue to pour gas onto things over and over again and light the fire, they love that. If you come at it with common sense, they're like, because they want reactions. This is real, but it's not a death sentence. This is real, and we need to pay attention to it every single day while this thing is going on, and we need to break it down with real data, real numbers. But our life isn't going to be this forever. But they know, and I'm not just talking about CNN, I'm talking about every single one of the stations and, radio personality. Like, I talk to other big personalities, and we'll joke because some of them are into the sensationalism about everything. And other ones are like, I can't do that. That's not genuine. I can't come on here and just do, oh my God, you're all going to die. And this is a conspiracy, or that's not it. I want to give you the data and the facts over the feelings. We can have empathy. We don't need to be stupid. We shouldn't live in fear. For some of us, we'll live in faith. And for others of us, we're just going to get on with it, and we're going to face it on in different ways. I'm good with that. But it is, it's like, so you're telling me that you hallucinated all night, you have 103 fever, all of these things are going on, and then you're ready to get on the show. Is that going to happen again tonight? Now, I've heard that at night sometimes it's worse for people. But I've also, there's a guy, and everybody's different. Your body reacts different. And some people you hear that they're fine one day, they get bad the next, they're fine another day, and then they go downhill overnight. And for men, it's worse. But I've not heard people come out and say, oh, yeah, I was 103, I was hallucinating, I was talking to old college friends, and then I'm ready to go on television. That's why I wonder, if he had mild symptoms, and he doesn't miss any days, does that tell the story that they want to tell? Isn't that fair that we ask a question like that for all of this? I just want, to me, news is, I'm going to deliver you the facts. The facts are, this thing's deadlier to men than it is to women. The facts are that if you have underlying conditions and you're over the certain age, it's really, really dangerous. It's not a death sentence, but it's dangerous. If we look at the overall numbers with what we think probably have it and the mortality rate, then maybe it's 3 times as deadly as the flu. It's the spread rate that scares people. There's a lot that goes into it. But when you start to look at these numbers, and we're never going to have the real numbers. If you go look at the flu, H1N1, even the Spanish flu, they always give you a weird, it killed between this many and this many. Because they don't really know, because some people die of it and you never know. And some people they thought died from it, they didn't. But I just want as much facts and data as I can find. And then let me make up my own mind. The sensationalism, that's why you can't watch this stuff every day. Go outside. Telling you guys, watch the Tiger King. Takes your mind off everything. You think to yourself, wow, as crazy as this world is right now, that world they lived in, way crazier. Watch movies. Get outside, even if you go on a walk. Even if you're just going to go in your backyard, do 20 jumping jacks, do some push-ups, do something. But don't inundate your life with this stuff. And realize that they're competing for eyeballs. Sensationalism is always going to, if there was just a guy on C-SPAN giving you the facts and data, talking to people without any slant, that's not going to get you. That's like putting a fishing hook into the water with no bait on it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. You can tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Speaking of Tiger King, Well, was it real? Was it not? Some are speaking out. We'll touch on that as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
It's confusing right now. Here in L.A., Mayor Eric Garcetti is telling everyone they need to wear a mask. It's not mandatory, but it's recommended. In Laredo, Texas, it's now the law. Residents can face a $1,000 fine if they're not wearing a mask in public. The state of California has put out guidance this week saying wear one if you want to, but hand washing and social distancing is better. And the White House is still debating if it will tell Americans to wear masks.
Yeah, it is. That's part of it. There's so many confusing things about this. And with all the coronavirus, just as much as there's confusing things about, can I go outside? Can I not go outside? What does social distancing mean? This is open, but that's not open. What can I do? It's the same thing with masks. And quite frankly, all of this stuff, it's, well, you should wash for 40 seconds. No, 20. You should wash with only hot water. No, it can be warm water, even cold water, as long as you have this type of, so many things. It can last for 90 days on this surface. It can last for 4 seconds on that one. And it's all confusing. The best thing that you can do is what's right for you. What you think is right for you. You go and you try to take in some of the information, and then you think to yourself, what's best for me? Is best for me staying in and just not going anywhere? Is best for me wearing a mask, not wearing a mask? I don't know. Like my hands. I said yesterday, I am at the point now where my hands are they're raw. And people, we had to put on lotion. Well, yeah, but you go and you put on lotion, then you have to walk through 12 different hallways and doors to get into the place you just were, and then you're like, I got to wash my hands again. I don't even know what's on my hands at this point in time. I mean, I've got disinfectant soap that we've got all around here, all of this kind of Purell stuff on top of lotion, on top of the 25 times I've given myself a Silkwood hand shower, and the top of my hands are raw. And I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to wash my hands, and that's it. There's nothing else I can do. I've got to do it's because it's uncomfortable now. My hands are itchy and they're bleeding on top. And part of that is because my other host that I work with, who I love, Gatos, he and I mean, we always joke we're best friends. But when we do our show, he is a germaphobe. Before this, he was a germaphobe. So I try to be aware of that. And, but sometimes you can overdo it. It's crazy. It is. But whatever is best for you is what you need to do. That's it. I don't care what it is. If it is one of those things where you say to yourself, maybe I should wear a mask, wear a mask. If it makes you feel comfortable. If it is, I'm just going to live my life and accept whatever fate I have, as long as you're doing everything you can to social distance, and if you do have something, doing all you can to make sure that nobody else gets it. But outside of that, you're just going to live your life, and whatever fate is bestowed upon you from this, let's do it. That's the only thing you can do. At this point in time, I don't think there's anything else. Whatever works for you and is going to keep you mentally fresh and not overwhelmed, then do it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the text line as much as you want. Know this, unemployment numbers are ugly. Was not a situation that wasn't unseen. We knew it was coming. How bad it's going to get, that is the question. Just like we're trying to forecast how many people may get this, how many people may become critically ill, how many people are asymptomatic, how many people may die. We're looking out there going, how many people are going to lose their jobs? How many jobs and job creators are going to be gone forever? How many big businesses are going to come back, but they're going to do it in slow waves? There is a lot. We are fighting two different fronts right now, in this battle, the coronavirus. The first one, obviously, is the health front. The second one is the economy front. And they are not too dissimilar in the sense that as the economy goes, so goes people's health in a lot of ways. And if we get to a point where it becomes desperate, you'll see that we could lose just as many people in other ways as we can on the health front. And we've got to start picking a lane and staying in it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. One thing's for sure, we are going to get through it. We're going to come out the other side. We'll be better for it. We'll be stronger for it. But it isn't going to be easy. But nothing ever great is easy. And this is a great fight, and we're taking it on. Be kind to each other. Social distance. But don't socially stay away from everybody. Have a great day. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.